What's up guys, Ernest from Langdon Tactical, and today we're going to talk about recoil anticipation and proper timing for the shooting sequence. All right, when we start talking about fundamental marksmanship and the mistakes that people make, we hear all types of things or descriptions of what people are doing wrong. They're jerking the trigger, they're anticipating the shot, but the reality is, let's talk about what's really happening. Anticipation is probably the #1 problem that people have when they're trying to learn to shoot at speed. What is anticipation? Anticipation is the act of starting to control recoil before the gun fires. Often from behind the gun, we see a perfect sight picture right up until the instant the gun fires. And if you have a micro flinch or you're not really seeing your sights, those sights start to dip right before the gun fires because you're controlling recoil before you finish the trigger pressing process. What that means basically is when we shoot a gun and we don't give it any other input, recoil drives the gun up into the air and it'll typically just stay there until we put muscle on the gun and bring it back onto the target. The issue is timing. When we start to muscle that gun to control recoil before it fires, we alter the sight picture or alter the alignment of the gun, and that's truly what anticipation is. So the question is, how do we fix that? There's a series of things that you can do that'll improve your ability and prevent or help eliminate that anticipation. The first one is dry fire. Dry fire is always going to be a tremendous tool for you to improve your ability and get the timing correct. Without the recoil there, you can see when you're making those mistakes. The second thing you can do is a poor man ball and dummy drill. It's the same thing that people do when they add a dummy round and live rounds together in a magazine. When you come up on that dummy round, when you make that mistake, it'll show up. So the poor man ball and dummy drill is simply, I load the gun, I'm going to take the magazine out of the gun, and then I will fire 2 shots. I'm only going to get 1 before I get a dry fire shot. And if I do it correctly, my sights should still stay in alignment. I may push the gun forward a little bit, but what I don't want to see is a misalignment of those sights when I pull or dry fire the trigger the second time. So again, we load the gun, then we take the magazine out, and then basically I got 2 trigger presses. And if I do it correctly, the sight shouldn't move. And then finally, the other thing we can do is we can have someone cycle the sight for us while we're dry firing, and that impulse of manually cycling that slide makes our brain think recoil, and then we will tend to want to control that on that next dry fire shot. So in this one, this is a team drill, and basically what's going to happen is she's going to dry fire, and then I'm going to cycle the slide immediately and vigorously. Her job is to reset the quick trigger as quickly as possible, come back, prep and press again for each and every shot. And what that does is, if she does anticipate, she'll be able to see it in the sights and auto correct as she goes. So let's do this a couple times. All right, so this drill does a lot of good things. One is, if your stance is a little bit on the weak side, it'll immediately show up because you'll get that push on the gun. And number 2, it gets you to resetting the trigger quickly. And when you do make mistakes with the trigger, they become very obvious in your sight picture. It's a tremendous training drill, something for you guys to try. All 3 of those are tremendous tools for you to use in improving your timing and preventing that anticipation on the shot. Guys, go out there, give this one a try, train hard, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.